Good evening, church. Sing a verse with me real quick. When we reach that city of the New Jerusalem, oh, we're gonna sing, we'll sing, oh, by and by, how the ransomed singers will together him, and we're gonna sing, and we'll sing, oh, by and by, and oh, what joy when we get home. We'll rest beneath that cloudless throne in that land where saints never die. Oh, we're gonna sing, and we'll sing, oh, by and by. Thank Brother Fisher and the leadership for giving me an opportunity to speak this evening. The Cowboys already played, and I don't have to work in the morning, so we're going to be here for a while. So, nah, just kidding, to be short. Brother Stevens gave us a great lesson this morning coming from the prodigal son and talking about his brother, and his point was about forgiveness. My point's going to be using some of that same stuff, but we're going to be talking about getting our just reward. So a title will be Our Just Reward. Jumping right into it, let's go to Matthew chapter 25, verses 1 through 12. Matthew 25, verses 1 through 12. A familiar passage, the story of the foolish virgins. And 25, 1 through 12. Matthew 25, 1 through 12. I'll start reading. Then the kingdom of heaven shall be likened to 10 virgins who took their lamp and went out to meet the bridegroom. Now 5 of them were wise and 5 were foolish. Those who were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them, but the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. But while the bridegroom was delayed, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight a cry was heard, Behold, the bridegroom is coming. Go out to meet him. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out. But the wise answered, saying, No, lest there should not be enough for us and you, but rather go to those who sell and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him into the wedding, and the door was shut. Afterward, the other virgins came, saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. But he answered and said, Assuredly, I do not know you. My first point is going to be, there is no reward for the unprepared or the unmotivated. Now, this son in this part of the Bible, like the foolish virgins, they weren't wrong. They didn't do anything wrong, or they didn't break any laws, but they didn't do anything right either. They were just there. You're not going to get rewarded for just being there. If you just show up somewhere, you're not going to get anything for just showing up. If you go to work and don't work, if you show up to work but don't work, you're not going to be there very long. You're going to get fired. You're not going to get paid. If you go to school and don't do any work, you're not going to pass your classes. It's not good enough just to be somewhere. If you're there and you're unmotivated or unprepared, then it's not going to help you much at all. Like I said, the 5 foolish virgins, they were in the right place at the right time, but when the time came, they were unprepared. They did not get their reward. But the wise virgins who were there at the right place in the right time and were prepared, who cared about what was about to go on, they wasn't like, oh yeah, there's a wedding, we'll be ready. No, there's a wedding, the bridegroom's coming. When he comes, I want to be ready to go. So they got their reward. They got to go into the wedding. I'm sure there was a nice spread in there. There's probably some nice food and all that. You never know. The other folk, they had to sit outside the gate, and when they said the door was shut, and the Lord said, I don't know you, because they weren't there. If you're not prepared, you can't get that reward if you're unprepared or unmotivated. And I use unmotivated too because I call this like the participation ribbon mentality now. A lot of folk are happy to show up and just get something for being there. When I was playing Little League sports, I hated participation ribbons and trophies. I don't want that. If it ain't 1st through 5th, don't give it to me. I don't want something just for being there. Okay, we played football all year, but we lost every game. I don't want a trophy for that. Why? So I can remind myself that we were terrible all year. I don't want that. And so you shouldn't get stuff. You shouldn't expect something just because you show up. But that's how it is nowadays. A lot of kids are, I look at this ribbon I got. Son, y'all went 0-9. You shouldn't get anything for that. But a lot of us that's the reward we want. We want that reward just because we showed up. As Christians, if you just show up to church, eventually God will be like, hey, I don't know you. You were here at the right place, but you have no works. I can't tell that you did anything. You're here, but you're not prepared and you're not motivated to work. And also at my school, I work in content mastery. I'm a tutor all day. The kids who come into my room, and they come into my room because they need help, understandable. But the kids who come into my classroom, hey, Mr. Miller, I got a test, and they sit down and put their headphones in, I sit there and look at them, let them sit there for about 5-10 minutes. Hey, you going to help me with this test? What do you need help on? The test. What specifically do you need help with? Oh, I don't know. So I'll sit there and I'll take my time explaining the question to them, reading it to them, giving them oral administration, and then multiple choice. So which one of these do you think it would be? Can we eliminate one? I'm gonna pick A. It can't possibly be A. All right, well I'll pick C instead. That kid right there, I'm gonna let him fail because he's not trying. Clearly, I'm just gonna pick this. But the other kid who's over here, I've read the whole thing. They're asking me questions, and they pick A. I'm like, think again. Okay, well if it's not A, let's see. Well, it says right here, A being, yada 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 here. So would it be C? Good job. I'm gonna give that. He's gonna be rewarded with help. He's gonna pass this class because he's gonna get that help because he's actually putting forth the effort. You're not gonna be rewarded for just showing up. Just because you tell your teacher, I need to go to content mastery and see Mr. Miller. And some of the teachers know because they tell me too. How does so-and-so make an A in this? He doesn't pay any attention in class. I'm like, because I was helping him. Well, quit helping him. Can do. And now so-and-so is failing, but he's not trying. He has all the help in the world. The Lord gives us all the help in the world, but we don't try back to meet him somewhere in the middle. We're not going to be rewarded. So there is no reward for the unprepared or the unmotivated. Next, you get what you work for, be content. You get what you work for, so be content. Okay, so let's make this, I know we have taxes and all that. Let's make it real simple. So if you work 40 hours a week for $10 an hour, at the end of that week, you expect $400, correct? 40 times 10, am I right? All right. So you expect $400 at the end of the week. If you get that $400 at the end of the week and your boss don't say a word to you, be content. What did you do? You went to work for that money. He paid you what you already owed. If he comes up to you, hey, good job today. Good job this week, Millie. You did great. Gives you a pat on the back. I mean, that's great and all that, but I'm not doing my job for a pat on the back. If I came to work at the end of the week and all he had was a pat on the back with no money, I don't want that pat on the back. I want my money. I worked for that money. I want what I worked for. Be content with what you get. Recognition is nice, but it is not always necessary. I want to stay in Matthew chapter 25 and just go to the next parable in there, verse 14, about the man and the talents, the men and the talents. Let's see, verses 14 through 17. We'll slide down. For the kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling to a far country who called his own servants and delivered his goods to them. And to one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, to each according to his own ability. And immediately he went on a journey. Then he who had received 5 talents went and traded with them and made another 5 talents. And likewise, he who had received 2 gained also 2 more. So those of us who know the story, the 1 talent man went and hid his talent in the ground. Then their master came back, and the guy who had 10 talents, who had 5 talents, said, hey, look, I doubled this 5, turned it into 10. Hey, good job, man. On your way. You can enter the kingdom of heaven. Is it the kingdom of heaven? Let me double check. Let me not say this the wrong way. Yeah, you may enter the kingdom of heaven. So the next guy, now this is the main guy we're talking about. He started with 2. He came up next and said, hey, Lord, I had 2. I doubled it to 4. Good job. Go on about your way into the kingdom of heaven. And we're not even worried about the 1 talent man. We're talking about the original 2 talent man. He was content with what he had. Now, a lot of us from the get-go, when he first started passing out talents, how come he get 5? I only got 2. That ain't fair. But as Brother Stephen said this morning, there's a lot of homeless people out here. There's a lot of people who are doing worse than us. So maybe in that situation, he didn't complain because he realized, well, I only got 2, but he only got 1. I'm still doubled up on him, so I'm doing fine. So he was content with what he had. But to go further on, let's go down to verse 28. After their master had chewed out the guy who didn't do anything with his money, he gave that talent. In verse 28, therefore take the talent from him and give it to him who has 10 talents. Now I'm working high school this year, but last year I was elementary. Give all these kids 5 Skittles to give one of them 10. There's gonna be a problem immediately. How come you get 10 Skittles? I only got 3. That ain't fair. Give me some more Skittles. That wasn't this guy right here. He wasn't over here. Hold on now. We both doubled our money, but he already got 10. I can't get one more to get 5. Now, how come? Now he got 11. I still got 4. He was content. We don't have a record in the Bible of him being upset because somebody else got a bonus, quote unquote, on the job. And that's like I was saying from the beginning on this point. If I get $400 at work, that's what I was supposed to do. I worked my 40 hours at $10 an hour. I got more for $100. I need to be content with what I got. I can't look over at so-and-so like, man, so I did a way better job than him, and he got a bonus. Why is that fair? And it's not fair to you all the time. However, be content with where you are. That is your just reward. If you show up to work and get a paycheck, that's what you're supposed to get. The 2 talent man worked his 2 talents, turned them into 4. He was content with that. And so we didn't see him being jealous about the other man who started with more and even got more later and then got a bonus. He wasn't jealous of him. We don't have a record of that. So be content with what you have already. And my third point would be, it's going to be content with, you get what you work for, be content. Don't be content with what you have. If you work for it and receive something back, be content. And last but not least, you don't get rewarded for doing what you're supposed to do. And this is something I know y'all have heard me say before, but I believe this to my core on a lot of stuff. And this is going to be, y'all can go ahead and turn your Bibles to Luke chapter 15, verse 29. This is what ties in with this morning's lesson. You don't get rewarded for doing what you're supposed to do. Here in Denton, and some of the teachers can explain it to you better because I don't actually have to put in grades, but the retest policy in Denton ISD is, or at least what I see, you can retake a test for up to a 90. So if you fail a test the first time, make like a 40 or something on it, you can retake that test and make a 90 on it the next time. And the first time I heard that, I was ticked off already. And I'm not even in high school anymore because I was pretty much a straight A student. I was trying to get my grade higher so I could get to college, so I could get more money when I got here. It's not fair to me that little Johnny over here, I know he didn't study, and you hear kids say this too. Oh, I'm just gonna retake it next week. They show up expecting to fail to say, I was going to take another week to study and all that. But that's not fair to the kid who studied already, who showed up on time to class and made a 92. Okay, so I did this study, I did my homework, I made a 92. You didn't even try. You came back literally sometimes 2 weeks later to take this test and made a 90. How is that fair to me making a 92 and you making a 90 and I clearly put in more work than you did? The point of that being, it's not always going to be fair. It's true. It truly may not be fair to you, but God did not ask us to be the arbiters of fairness. He's the arbiter of fairness. And what you have to remember, too, is that, and that's going back to the story. We'll read it here in a second. That's going back to the story that so-and-so may need that extra week to study. So-and-so may fail. That's not enough time for them. But you can get it right now. Don't compare yourself to them. So-and-so may have a learning disability, and you do not. So you don't get mad because he's getting extra time. You don't need the extra time. So don't be jealous because he's doing that. To read this story from this morning, Luke 15, verses 29 reads, So he answered his father, Lo, these many years I have been serving you. I have never transgressed your commandment at any time, and yet you never gave me a young goat that I may make merry with my friends. But as soon as this son of yours came and who has devoured your livelihood with harlots, you killed a fatted calf for him. And he said to him, Son, you are always with me, and all that I have is yours. It is right that we should make merry and be glad, for your brother was dead and is alive again, and was lost and is found. If you're already making good grades and you don't need the extra time, then don't get mad because somebody got the extra time. Yeah, it's not exactly fair to you, but you don't need that, so you're okay. This brother right here, we didn't throw a party for you, but you weren't gone out lost in the world. We're glad he's back. And that's what Brother Stephen said this morning, that the other brother was mad. He's like, he's getting rewarded for coming home when he should have never left to begin with. And I understand how salty some of us would be in that situation, but it's not always going to be fair to you. You're not always going to get a pat on the back for doing what you're supposed to do. I can think of playing football back in the day. When you missed a block, coach is going to let you know you missed a block. When you got a block, he won't go say nothing to you. Why? Because you're supposed to protect the quarterback. That's the game. Like, you don't get a pat on the back for doing what you're supposed to do sometimes. There's some folks, I say, I ain't seen you in a while. I've been at church. I ain't seen you do nothing in a month. I mean, like, you're here, but you don't you're supposed to come to church. That's in the Bible. Do not forsake the assembly of the saints. You don't get a pat on the back for doing what you're supposed to do. And on that same point, some of us, like I said, some people need more help than other people. So don't get mad when you did what you were supposed to do. Somebody else took the long route and still got the same reward. If you didn't need that, it's not fair. Excuse me, it may not be fair to you because you didn't need that extra help, but somebody may have needed that extra help. Last point on this, back home we used to have this thing called a GPA, God's Prime Achievers, and we'd have like a deacon and his wife on this side, and a deacon and his wife on this side. Lyle's mom, my friend's mom would read. We had artistics, academics, and athletics. So if you did something in that 6 weeks that was commendable, we had perfect attendance, AB honor roll, and A honor roll people. And then arts, if you were like an orchestra or band, y'all had a concert, or you were first chair or something, you got recognized for that. And athletics, if your team did something, once again, not just because DHS went 2-8 this year, wouldn't none of them be getting clapped for. But somebody went to Ryan, they won this year. You need to come up, church claps for them. Well, I was always up there for A honor roll, AB honor roll, something like that. And one of my friends, I use his middle name just in case it's ever online, Marquise, he struggled in school. He did have a learning disability, and he was never up there, and half our class was up there. We used to kind of, being kids, we make fun of, so-and-so still sitting down while we all, up on stage. So-and-so over there, look at him. He didn't make it up here. We clown each other for that, but, we were being kids, whatever. But we never made fun of him for being a little bit slower just until that situation would happen. But, it was a way to motivate you. Hey, everybody likes a little recognition, pat on the back, even if you're doing what you're supposed to do. So I remember Trey was working on getting his grades up. I'm up there already for AB honor roll. Me and my friend Mark sitting there talking, laughing or whatever on stage, or whispering. We've been talking, we'd have got in trouble. And we're about to sit down, and Sister Leon said, and, oh, wow, because she's just reading off a list. And last but not least, first time up here, and this like been high school by now. He ain't never been up here since elementary. First time up here, we have Marquise Williams. The entire church stood up and gave that boy a standing ovation. He was up here trying not to cry. His mom was over here bawling. But that was like his sophomore year of high school. He did not get off of AB honor roll the next 3 years. Now, I got in trouble for making C's and D's. Or I didn't make D's. That would have been, yeah. I got in trouble for making C's. He got, a standing ovation for making AB honor roll for the first time. And I remember back in the day thinking about, I've been on AB honor roll my whole life. Y'all ain't never stood up for me and clapped. This ain't fair. But looking back at this whole story, I didn't need that support. I didn't have a learning disability. I was going to make AB honor roll if I sat in class and paid any attention. He needed that. But that motivation he got that day, that recognition he got, that standing ovation, like I said, he had never been on AB honor roll. He stayed on AB honor roll the next 3 years, all through high school. Some people need that when you may or may not need that. This brother right here, he's mad. Like, I ain't never messed up. How come y'all throwing a party for my little brother? Or, it was his younger brother, I think. For the other, why you throwing a party for the other brother? And he was like, because you didn't need it. You never left. You never went out and wild out. We didn't have to motivate you to stay here. He's gone. We want him to stay here and get to work. So yeah, we're going to give him extra love, of course. And that's something we all understand. So that brother was, the older brother was upset because he felt like he didn't get a reward, but he'd been rewarded the whole time by not having to eat pig slop already, like the other brother had to do, by not being out, having righteous living and stuff. He'd already had his reward based on not having the hard life his other brother had had. Some of us have already had our reward, the fact that you've had a job the whole time. You never been unemployed. You have your health. You might have had some, you may not have cancer. Somebody else did and might have beat it or something like that. But whatever you had, you beat it, or you're still dealing with it. Everybody don't get to fight that long. Some people die. It is what it is. You get your just reward all the time. And we can't be upset when we see somebody else getting something because, like I said, we're not the arbiters of fairness. God is. It may seem unfair to you, but that might be something somebody else really, really needs. So let them have that reward, because that's not what your reward is. Where is our reward? Glad you asked me. Matthew chapter 16, verse 27. Matthew 16, verse 27. You may not always see your reward here on earth, but we already know where I'm going here. Matthew 16, 27. For the Son of Man will come in his glory of his Father with his angels, and then he will reward each according to his works. And just to nail that home, Matthew 5, verse 12. Matthew 5, verse 12. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for they so persecuted the prophets who were before you. That's what we need to remember at any point in time. Let's not be like the other brother who was upset because he saw somebody getting a reward right then. Let's know that our ultimate reward relies in heaven. And if we do what we're supposed to do down here, we will be rewarded eventually. It's not going to be every day. Every time you do something, you're not going to get a pat on the back. You're not going to hear this deep voice from heaven. Good job, my son. That's not going to happen every time you do something right. However, when you do something right, it just adds to the list. So when God had that book of life at the end of the day, okay, now I see everything you've done. Yeah, here's your reward. Come on in. So continue to work hard the way you're supposed to do all the time, because you will get your just reward eventually. My 3 points were: there's no reward for the unprepared or unmotivated. 2, you get what you work for and be content. And 3, you don't get rewarded for doing what you're supposed to do. If you want that reward in heaven, you must first hear the word, must believe what you have heard, repent of your sins, confess the Lord's name, and be baptized, and then live faithful unto death. And if you live faithful unto death, when the Lord comes home, you will receive your just reward. Careless, why will you linger?